and welcome to the Seven Figure Entrepreneur Podcast, where we empower authors with tools, resources, and inspiration to build prosperous book brands. And today we are interviewing Alexis Quintal. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
No, we are gassed up about having you today and what you'll be sharing on how to harness the power of public relations as an author. I must share that we have recently, over the last couple of months, actually employed the awesome services of Alexis and her team, and we're so thrilled about the work that they've been doing for us, and we're excited again that we can share her with you all. Let's get started. Tell us a little bit about your expertise in the field of public relations, Alexis.
Sure. Yeah. So I have experience working both in digital marketing and public relations. And I immediately fell in love with PR because it really allows you to share your story. You know, as an entrepreneur, as an author, as a leader, it allows you to get in front of a larger audience who might not already know you, and provides a platform for you to control the narrative of your background and be authentic. So although my experience with PR started at Newswire, I worked with some major companies running press releases and some very traditional PR opportunities for them. But it's now a major focus of my company, Rosarium PR and Marketing Collective. We love tapping into the power of PR for entrepreneurs and helping them develop a credible personal brand through the media. So it's been really fun.
Excellent. So we always try to disrupt thinking to start interviews with. So what would you say is probably the biggest myth concerning PR?
Ooh, where do I begin? There are so many. So that's one thing that we've been working hard to do is educate people on PR. I think one of the biggest myths is that it's so expensive that only, Fortune 500 companies can afford it, or really successful businesses with large budgets or something like that. One thing we're trying to educate people and disrupt with PR is that it can be lower cost. It can be even something you do for yourself with no investment whatsoever. There'll obviously be different results, but there's so much opportunity within PR that we really want more and more people to be open to that instead of afraid or thinking that, they're not worthy enough or they can't afford it or anything like that.
Wow. So how do you help an author understand the financial value of investing in PR?
We can help in many ways. I mean, one thing we want them to remember is it is a bit of a longer term play and it takes some time to build up PR. It's going to take some investing within your personal brand, because as we're sending more and more traffic and getting you interviews and things like that, people will be going and learning more about you on your social media channels, on your website, reading your book. So you'll want to make sure you have that set foundation beforehand.
Woo. Wow, guys, she's giving us some good nuggets already. The one thing I want to prepare you for is that we must understand as authors, what we put into our brand is what we'll get out of our brand. If you've got big goals, big dreams, big aspirations of speaking, traveling, and reaching the masses, then PR is something you might consider. In fact, I think that's a great segue for us going into distinguishing the difference between what is PR and what is social media.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. One thing we do say is that we think anything that's out in the public, so your social media channels, your website, a lot of different things are also PR. The main difference, and there's actually a lot of similarities in our viewpoint, we see that anything that goes out in the public, so people can find your social media channels, they can find your website, they can obviously find your book. Those are all public. So that's your relationship with the public. And so we're starting to think that social media and PR do have a lot of similarities. The main difference is that you own your social media. You can post whatever you'd want on your social media channel, in your story, on your Facebook. Those are all owned by you. With PR, those articles or stories or interviews are owned by a third party. They're mostly going to be either a news outlet or a podcast or a newsletter. And so they own that content, but what they're talking about builds your credibility.
So would you say one is better than the other, or they're equal in value?
I think they're equal in value, especially where with social media, it's such a great like free tool that, you know, anyone can use. And so it's a really great way for you to communicate to your audience and control that narrative of how you want to be perceived. You know, what kind of information do you want to share about yourself and, you know, about your professional career. But PR is obviously great as well, because if someone else is saying that you're a trusted resource, or, you know, saying that you're going to be the next biggest author, that's going to really build your credibility and trust with your audience. So we really recommend anytime you get published, reshare that on your social media. Use that to your advantage, because now, you know, you're really communicating to the masses there.
Wow. You're really tapping into some things. I'm trying to keep all my little extra questions organized in my head. But as you were speaking, I was thinking like an author would think. And you said that social media is really like a new normal way of everyday people getting their message out into the marketplace. So how has PR been able to maintain its value to authors if I have social media?
Yeah, I think it's actually increased its value. One of the reasons is because it is a little bit less expensive, or like maybe not as far-fetched as it used to be to actually obtain PR as an author. You know, now there's so many different channels that you can tap into through PR, and it opens up a lot of new opportunities. So I think that it's a really exciting time to see that PR is still very valuable, but it's just changed. It's not as traditional as it used to be. There's, you know, a lot of new opportunities that you can tap into.
I agree. So I think that's another great segue for us to go ahead and just define what is public relations and why is it still powerful and valuable.
Yeah. So public relations, we went and Googled the exact definition, is the relationship between the public and a company or an author or, you know, a person. So traditionally, it was always used by celebrities or Fortune 500 companies as a way to increase their following and grow their business. But today we live in such a digital world where a lot of people, or, you know, everyone has their own public social media profiles and websites. So that meaning behind PR has definitely changed. It's become an opportunity to build a platform for your personal brand before you launch a book. It's a great way to build a relationship with your target readers, let them get to know you as a person first. And, you know, even traditionally, you can still be featured in the media, you know, on TV news segments or in blogs or, you know, roundups of the top 10 books that are being launched this month. You know, there's still a mixture of traditional opportunities as well as these new opportunities. So it's changed a lot, which is why I think it's so exciting to be involved in the world of PR.
So what's a trend that you're observing authors benefiting from PR with?
One trend I'm observing is allowing your audience to get to know you as a person first. And that's even something with businesses. People are starting to realize this humanistic side as far as creating content and, you know, developing marketing tactics is first, let's get to know the human. And so as an author, you know, you're really selling yourself. You know, you want people to trust you and be intrigued enough to purchase and read your book. So PR and kind of building out that personal brand is going to be a trend that I think will continue going forward. And I've seen some really successful authors grow their following and, you know, months before they even launch their book. And it's a really smart way to kind of, you know, connect with your audience and let them get to know you a little bit.
Wow. And I keep saying wow on purpose, guys, because I love it. I'm like eating all of this up for myself. Is there an author in the market that you've observed doing PR really well and it's benefiting them in terms of really creating a lot of buzz and sales around their book?
Well, one I could speak to that everyone would know is Michelle Obama. I was hoping to find someone more local, but she is an incredible, obviously, person that a lot of people already are familiar with, but she does a really great job tapping into her personality and kind of showcasing her personal brand as she's leading up to launching a new book. I know she's done podcasts where she talks about the book and talks about the topic, and she also invites in other people. And I think that's one thing that authors should really kind of tap into, is there's a lot of collaboration opportunities for authors that could become really great PR opportunities with the media, or even just social media collaborating. So that way you can get in front of a new, wider audience that doesn't already know you. And Michelle does a really great job of that.
I agree. We actually had a guest a couple episodes back, Trisha Stonecker, and she said we shouldn't sell to our network, but we should sell through it. And Michelle Obama does a phenomenal job of selling through her network. She borrows the influence of influencers, and they endorse and share her book and share what they like about it and share that they like it. And it helps to even build a greater buzz around it. And why I love that you picked Michelle. Now, some may say, well, Michelle Obama, that's not fair. But look, if Michelle Obama is still using PR and she's Michelle Obama, what does that tell us?
Yeah. I mean, I think it can sound overwhelming to kind of use her as that idea of how to use PR properly, but there's a lot of ways that you can do almost exactly what she's done within your own network, and it can really be successful.
Wow. And we're going to go over those, guys, before we wrap up not the email, but the interview. And I want to now break down just a little bit more about PR, because I'm sure that some of you are saying this is so far out of my league. I thought I was just writing a book. I thought once I make a graphic and I post it on social media or get my book listed on Amazon and other online distributions, it'll just sell. But the truth is, you do need a marketing strategy, and you also need a PR strategy. So let's talk about leveraging our social media and leveraging access we may have to the traditional media outlets. We'll begin with social media. How can an author leverage the power of social media to promote, from a PR perspective, their book brand?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I have some helpful tips to help authors feel a little bit less overwhelmed about social media. I know it can be, even, for anyone, it can be a little bit scary. But one thing I tell authors is try to narrow down to 2 social media channels to focus on, instead of feeling like you have to do all of them. There's so many with TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, but think about where your target readers are and focus on, meeting them there instead of trying to spread yourself too thin. Then you can do a really, really great job within those 2 platforms. The other tip I have too is to create a separate personal and professional page as an author. So that way you can show a little bit of your personal life on your professional page, but kind of allows you to showcase yourself as a business, as an entrepreneur, and separate that a little bit from your fun personal page that you may already have. And my third tip is to pick some sort of topic that you're passionate about outside of, being an author, something that you can talk about on your social media channel and create some thought leadership content around. That's what people will really connect with. If you can make it be relatable, be real, then people will be even more interested in following you and following along when your book does launch.
Oh gosh, those were really, really good tips. Thank you so much. Now, if we could just go a little bit further on the social media side, Alexis, because I find that a lot of our listeners and authors begin at a position on social media which most would qualify as a disadvantage. They don't have thousands of followers. Maybe they have 10 or 15 faithful, strong ones that are engaged and connected and sharing. Is it possible to have any type of traction through social media with that size following?
Absolutely. And even as you mentioned, having 10 to 15 really engaged followers is much better than having thousands of unengaged followers that, aren't even really seeing your your content in their feed. So how social media works is it knows which of your followers actually are constantly engaging with your content. So it will continue to show in their feed versus someone who isn't always engaging with you. They may not even see it. So I definitely think that there's ways to tap into that and utilize, your highly engaged followers as a way to show credibility and, kind of show that, what you're sharing on social media is valuable to some people. And from there, it'll grow. It will, sometimes it takes time, but it will naturally start to grow as new people kind of find you and see that you've got this even small, but really supportive following.
So what's a reasonable expectation for growth?
For growth, I think that, well, if you're posting consistently, so at least 4 times a week, and you're taking advantage of some of Instagram, if we're talking about Instagram, their trending audio and, tagging and collaborating with people, I think 100 followers a month. Yeah, 100 followers a month is a kind of a good expectation.
Okay. Well, that's some good stuff right there, guys. I hope you're taking notes. You might start small, but you have the ability to grow into a powerful social influencer if you will remain committed and consistent in your posting. You'll watch it will grow. Oh, that was so good. Thanks, Alexis. Now let's talk about some more traditional media outlets. What is a good way for an author who has no PR experience to get in front of readers and get comfortable doing interviews with media outlets?
Yeah, so a lot of us have more, connections than we may realize. So we've got our local news stations. We've got probably a lot of people that we work with that have blogs, or even anyone that is, a social media micro influencer. Any of those contacts that you already have, or you may be able to find them online because they're often very public. Offer to give them a free copy of your book or a chapter to read and share their feedback online or in a news article. You're kind of offering them value and asking for a very small favor in return. A lot of times they're going to be interested, especially on a local level. Local media really want to support local businesses, local authors, people that are, following their dreams. So don't be afraid to reach out and just ask. Worst thing they say is no.
And for that person that's saying, well, I'm shy and I wouldn't even know what to say, I'm much more confident behind the pen. How do they build that confidence to now begin engaging through verbal or written or in-person interviews with traditional media outlets?
Yeah, you could use your social media as an example. What are you getting the most engagement on? That a lot of times that maybe would be what the media would be more interested in as well. Maybe that would kind of help your confidence. Maybe start with a friend and send them your pitch and ask for their feedback. There's a lot of ways that you can tap into some of your friends and colleagues and just get their honest feedback. So that way you boost your confidence a little bit more.
Wow. And I'm no PR expert, but I'd like to throw one in there. Go live. Go live on your social media.
Yeah.
That is an incredible way to grow and work through some of your insecurities, some of your verbal crutches, work through how you want to articulate your ideas, your message, your this, your that. And building your confidence before it is what will prepare you for it. And there are so many ways that we can really grow, but you've got to be willing to do the intentional work. I recall before ever being featured in anything, I started my own podcast well before this one. I had no idea about podcasting, but I knew I wanted to be a consistent voice, a thought leader in the marketplace, and be a part of supporting transformation in people's lives. So I began a podcast, and I'm not going to confess that it was the best in the beginning, but I got better and I got better and I got better. Has that been your experience in working with clients as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the more you can practice and, even fail sometimes and just pick back up and learn from that, that's how you're going to improve.
Absolutely. And one other one, again, I know I'm absolutely not a PR expert, but these are just little things that have helped me. Find people you admire in the market that are doing what you desire. Listen and learn from them. I cannot tell you how much Shonda Rhimes has really just hit my whole life. I love the way she tells stories through her talks, from TED Talks to other interviews. I follow her. I love the way Gayle King interviews, so I follow her. And I listen to how she engages in her body language and her expression when she talks with people. And for me, I'm not looking at these ladies to copy them, but I see myself in those shoes or greater. So I glean from them. Has that also been something in your experience that helps clients?
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I start working with clients, I ask them for some examples in their industry, or, someone that they admire that, it's helpful for us to understand too what their goals are. Even if it is a Michelle Obama, I want to know that so I can help you get there.
Okay, so on that point right there, Alexis, how do you help them not succumb to feeling like they'll never live up to the person they admire when they're learning from them?
Yeah, I would just remind them that it's obviously great to have mentors, and there's a lot of opportunity for yourself. There's competition, but there's also opportunity. So I try to just be the ultimate hype girl and try to share, any positive moment as a really great opportunity for them. And obviously there's going to be challenges to overcome, but as long as you're kind of celebrating the little wins, you will get there.
I love what you said, Alexis. You said there's competition, but there's also opportunity. Wow, wow, wow. Some of us need to get an index card out and tag that to our mirror or put it in front of our laptops, because that was a gem. Yes, there are other people writing books. Yeah, there are other people out there in the market. Yeah, they might be telling things similar to your message, but there's still an opportunity. Oh my goodness, Alexis, that was good. Wow, wow, wow. Well, guys, I could just talk to Alexis forever, seriously, on this topic. It's so valuable and it's so important. But I want to make sure that we leave you all with some steps or tips for you to be able to implement into your own process in PR and growing your book brand. So, Alexis, what are 3 public relation tips that we can offer to authors who are not generating the types of results they want in the market?
Yeah, well, my first tip kind of goes back to our discussion around reaching out, being brave and kind of reaching out to maybe local news or, blogs or podcasts just to pitch yourself. And my tip around that is to make sure that you're personalizing that pitch to the contact and to the outlet. So that way you're kind of differentiating yourself. And so that could be, again, something you test out with a friend or colleague, but what is it about you that's different? So definitely keep that in mind. The second tip is to showcase your credibility. So whether you've spoken at an event or, maybe you had a really great a live social media conversation with someone, anything like that actually does build your credibility. So feel free to use that to show that you're credible. And then, final tip is don't be afraid to reach out to a professional. A lot of times they will provide free consultations and just answer questions and give advice. So don't be afraid to ask for help.
Oh, wow. Those are some really good steps that any of us can implement. I want to just restate them. You got to reach out with a personalized message. Don't be afraid to go after the opportunities you desire. You got to be willing and clear on your credibility. And this one's really, really important, Alexis, because a lot of our first time and second time authors don't feel like they're credible enough to actually talk about what they're talking about. They're just passionate about it. If I could ask a question here to kind of strengthen their confidence, what do you say to a person who's not clear that they're credible on a message they're passionate about?
Yeah, well, as an author, you've now spent hours and hours learning about that topic, probably researching, writing and rewriting pages. For that level of effort that you've just put into your book, that alone builds your credibility. I mean, that a lot of people can understand that is not easy. So you should definitely be confident and proud of yourself for doing that.
Oh, wow. So research counts as credibility.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guys, you heard that? Research counts as credibility. Don't discount yourself. You put in the work. You've studied the topic. You've walked through the journey. You are credible. Own that credibility and don't be shy or ashamed of showcasing it. Last but not least, don't be afraid to reach out and receive some professional guidance. I live by this principle. Listen, you can be good at many things, but you can't be great at everything. There are people who are great at PR. And regardless of the size of your budget, if you've got big dreams in the marketplace as an author, I want to encourage you to consider developing a budget for PR. There's so many different levels you can come in at with PR. Not everyone's paying 30, 40, 50,000 or more a month for PR. You can have much smaller packages that are tailored or more focused on your needs. So guys, if you need the professional help, please do not be afraid to reach out. Alexis, thank you once more for being a guest on our podcast. I would love if you can point our listeners to a resource or something that would allow them to continue to grow in the area of harnessing the power of public relations as an author.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend they visit our Instagram, rosarium.work. We love to give just little tips, 30-second video clips where we provide you with support on how to pitch yourself, how to build your credibility, just kind of having these conversations and sharing these tips because we like to share the knowledge that we have. So I definitely recommend following along there and hopefully you learn a thing or two.
All right, guys, you heard. Let's get to following and growing. Now you know what time it is. It's time for us to implement. It's time for us to execute. And it's time for us to prosper together, authors. Until next time.